makes you interested to see what goes on next. And I do say again, like how they've kind of given nods to certain periods in time.
Okay.
Like the Barons, basically, for those who haven't watched the show, they're running things into the Badlands. And the world has been separated into almost like tribalistic settlements. And the Baron in particular. I'm sorry?
Why they had to pick somebody with a southern accent? Or
because...
I mean, it was like straight up Django, as you said before the show.
It was Django, yeah.
I felt like I was watching Django.
Yeah, they want to get that Django crowd in where it's just like, yo, if you replaced all the people that were in literally the poppy or cotton fields with black folks, it's Django Unchained mixed with Kung Fu Flick.
Okay.
Straight up. So I like that change. The Baron, how he's rallying the young troops, it's just like, oh, you gotta fight for me now. I'm just like, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So in the Badlands.
Wait, do that again?
What?
Do that?
Which what?
Do this?
Southern accent?
Yeah.
Oh man, come on, you put me on the spot now.
That was good.
I say so.
Oh man.
So, yeah, definitely gonna keep watching that. I'm saying goodbye to The Walking Dead, so that show's gonna take over my Sunday night slots.
Okay. Speaking of the Walking Dead, how is your breakup going from that show?
It's going all right. I mean, I broke tradition last week and didn't watch the new episode.
Mm-hmm.
I know tonight is the mid-season finale that's airing, or I guess you guys in less than 13 minutes now?
Yes.
We'll get it probably sometime at around, I want to say 9 or 10 LA time. And that's going to be it for until the new year, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go and check it out. I just want to make it a clean break and just be done with it. And apparently, we haven't found out what happened to Glenn yet.
No, man.
Dean, he's not here tonight, but he's vehemently hoping that he's just meat, just dead. There's no care or consideration for most of the main characters with Constantine.
Well, see, this is my problem with it. I feel conflicted at this point because I like the character Glenn, but it's almost whack if he was to survive. Like
we talked a bit about this. It would cheapen the experience of seeing him more or less be killed off.
Right.
So yeah, I just want to know the how. It's like when I'm watching Sherlock, and he thought that he died in season 2, and it's like, okay, we saw him jump off a building. You got to go back and really pitch me and sell me on a way out of how he would survive, like a 60+ full drop. So we'll see. After that, I think I'm gone. Back to my stuff. Don't call me, chick. We're done. We're good.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Well, I mean, we're about to know in 10 minutes. I mean, if this is the final episode for the break, correct? They're going to take a break until the new year, 2016. They always do this. Well, they've done this since season 2, moving onward. So, and it's always the Sunday before Thanksgiving.
I believe so. Yeah, and then they'll take like a break until the new year. So we'll see. And if they don't answer the Glenn question, I think I'm going to ditch anyway.
Wow.
Like one of you guys can come back and tell me whether or not he made it.
And how.
I just want to be done, dude.
Well, the last episode, they did have this random call on the walkie-talkies talking about help. And they did it in a very undescribable voice. So was that Rick? Was that Glenn? I mean, only thing is, if he was to fall and say help, how can he do that with a whole bunch of walkers around him? Because the walkers would hear him. So, because remember when he fell and all the walkers were focused on...
Nick's body?
Say it again?
That was Nicholas, because Nicholas's body fell on top of Glenn.
Right.
And we're under the assumption that the walkers were eating him and not Glenn.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't remember them having a walkie-talkie, though, so that already, I think, kind of X's out the possibility.
Right.
But we'll see. And then some of my other friends that are really versed in, they read the comics and they watch the show, they mentioned a character named Legend, I think. who's supposed to be like some, I don't know, badass that comes along later on.
Mm-hmm.
But again, since I stopped reading the comics a fair ways in, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know who it was. It's either going to be a new character or a character that we already know who was just having a hard time talking that day. I don't know what to tell you.
Now, do you find, in your personal experience, people you know, that the shows kind of mess it up for the comic? Or do you feel the comics kind of mess it up for the shows?
Well, it takes a particular kind of F up to really say that it messes it up, given the source material.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that certain shows, when people sit down and have to write scripts for these television shows, and they're based on pre-existing material like comics and manga and stuff like that, they have to adapt it for people who haven't read the comics. So they have to do that for Jessica Jones. They have to do that for The Walking Dead. So it's just kind of like the nature of the beast of getting something adapted to television.
Mm-hmm.
Walking Dead, some decisions early on that they made, some changes rather I should say, they were for the better, which I think made it more palatable, I think, for television audiences. One thing, for example, was like this thing with the governor earlier on.
Mm-hmm.
The governor in the comics actually, I believe he rapes Maggie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a lot more brutal, and in my opinion, it was a little bit overly so, because then Michonne goes back and she does this whole torture sequence with the governor in the comic books. And putting that on television, I don't think would have worked for a lot of people. I wouldn't have cared. I would have been like, oh yeah, that totally happened in the material. But it's not going to sit well with other people.
Got it.
And AMC, despite the fact that they do show you quite a bit on that station, they can't show you the stuff that they would have had in the comic.
Right. So there's a limit to their madness.
There's a limit, and there's certain times you're going to have to stop, take a step back, and be like, okay, this can work, this can't work. And then you kind of like mortgage the two. You just move between the two and see what works and what doesn't.
Right.
So I wouldn't say it messes it up, but they do change certain things for different reasons.
Well, I'm a little concerned with Arrow and Flash. I always bring them up in the same sentence just because I like how they integrate script-wise. Hey, this is what's going on in Starlet City. Hey, this is what's going on this. Cisco made this for me. Oh, well, this one made this for me. I think that's brilliant. I think that's actually one of the reasons why I like watching the show, is because they kind of tag team back and forth. And if they don't have a character in the other show, it's in the script. It's in somewhere in the dialogue, some little piece. This whole multiverse thing, so it's getting a little crazy.
And you're talking about in Flash?
I'm talking about in Flash.
Okay. On the opposing camp, I love the idea of the multiverse. It makes it to where they can introduce so many different ideas and so many different characters and concepts that are from the comics that normally, given the, I guess, scope and scale of Arrow and Flash by themselves, they wouldn't have been able to do that otherwise. It made it so that did you see the episode where the shark dude came up?
Oh yeah, that was great.
That was a totally great shout out to the comic books. He's in the Suicide Squad. He shows up. Just how they use that and how they explain that as being, well, this is a character who shows up from this alternate universe.
Gotcha.
And you have alternate versions of the Flash, variations of characters. Granted, some of the choices that they've made, I didn't particularly like the whole Dr. Light thing with Linda Parks.
Yeah.
I didn't care. So things will hit, things will miss, but so far it makes it so that you have this rich, wilderness that you can just kind of span through. Most recently, they introduced the Gorilla City.
Yes. So what do you think about them? For all of you who didn't watch the last episode, Grodd going to this gorilla.
Yeah, and that's totally in the canon. That's in the comics, and how they put that in and how they worked it in, I thought was great.
But now we know for a fact what's going to happen. He's so intelligent that now he's going to build this army, be the leader, and bring them back to Earth. Try to take over.
It's a perfect setup for a Grodd Returns episode.
But it was almost like...
It's just fun, dude. It's fun.
It is fun. But I was just like, oh, come on, guys. Well, let's let him let's put him by a whole bunch of gorillas.
And because Gorilla City is like an actual place in the DC Comics lore, and anybody that knows that in the comics, when they see him drop and you see the big Planet of the Apes statues, you're like, oh, that's Gorilla City! And anybody that knows Grodd's character, he knows that he's the one he's kind of like the dissenter of that city.
Right.
And he's the one that, in like a weird, almost, how can I explain?
Godlike?
Like,
Messiah-like position?
Not Messiah, but he's definitely like that Judas type character that goes in and sows dissent with the other gorillas, and he uses that to try to like take over. So I thought that was a great little Easter egg.
Do you think they'll actually spend some time? You know how they do, overly do it, but you know how they do with the Arrow, now the Green Arrow, going back and doing these flashbacks? They literally could just show episodes with just Grodd and what's going on over there. If they
wanted to, I don't know if they'll do that quite yet. It's pretty early, so they're only in their second season.
Right.
But Grodd will definitely come back. Grodd will come back. They're still dealing with this whole thing of Professor Zoom.
Right.
Who is like this season's evil speedster.
Right.
They're actually curious to see where they go. But they'll get to the... Actually, I don't know if they will. They might. He's definitely going to come back, but I don't know if they'll devote an entire episode just to...
Because that'd be a lot of money, CGI.
Think about, I was going to say, think about how much money that would cost to have not just one, but an entire city of gorillas.
Right.
Like, and Grodd looks great, but how would they'd have to dip into the pockets pretty heavy to pull off an entire colony.
Right.
So we'll see. But I like it, dude. The crossovers... That's going to come up this week, I believe. Because did they take a break last week? I can't.
No.
So this week, all right, we're going to have a break, and then after that, they're going to come back and we're going to have the mid-season.
All right. So Walking Dead starts in about 40 seconds. So we're going to depart, and my commentary on Green Arrow, I'll save that for next week. So we'll catch up on more of these shows and everything that's going on. Thank everyone for coming out and or coming in, or cell phone, iPads, or wherever you're watching the show. Awesome. Or if you're watching this later on YouTube. Drew, thank you very much.
Anytime.
I'm Seven. We'll catch you next week. Hope you enjoy. And for everyone that's still on Team Walking Dead while we're holding on, let's see what happens tonight.
You guys let me know how that turns out.